He kōna e purangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
When you tell them it's a parasite, they go, the hell are we trying to save it? Kill it, stamp on it.
Kia ora, nau mai haramai ki te ao hurahanga. Hello and welcome to Our Changing World, ko Clark Canon tēnei. This week, we've got a story from producer William Ray. He's been following a group of conservationists as they fight to save a population of rare parasitic plants, which were thought to have gone extinct in the Wellington region more than 100 years ago. Dactylanthus taylori, known to Māori as Te Rēinga, or the flowers of the Underworld, were last seen in the district in 1914. But last year, a chance discovery proved these strange plants have clung on in at least one patch of forest near Wainuiomata. Now the race is on to save these rugged little survivors from voracious introduced pests. Here's William.
Back in November 2024, Nikki MacArthur was tramping through the bush west of Wainuiomata.
Yeah, I'm an independent ecologist, a contractor. So I'm engaged by Greater Wellington Regional Council to do a set of bird counts in the Wainuiomata water collection area each year in November.
The Wainuiomata water collection area is a zone of native forest which supplies the region with about 60% of its drinking water. This forest also just happens to be a sort of de facto nature reserve because protecting the native plant and animal life in this region goes hand in hand with keeping the water safe to drink. Part of that work is monitoring numbers of native birds, which is why Nikki was trudging through the bush that day.
I was having a bit of an average day that day, just I'd sort of been huffing and puffing up the hill and was feeling a bit tired and a bit jaded, and then looked down and saw these plants, and it was just this complete turnaround of my day. It went from being a sort of a fairly average kind of a physically demanding day at work to being just on cloud nine, and for the rest of the day I was kind of skipping around a bird count station. As soon as I saw the plants, I kind of realised the significance of what I'd found.
What Nikki had found was Dactylanthus taylori, Te Pua o Te Rēinga, the flower of the Underworld, a plant not seen in the Wellington region for more than 100 years. The discovery generated a lot of excitement in the Wellington conservation community, but also a lot of anxiety. And that's because when Nikki found them, these plants were basically on death's door.
I'm not an expert on Dactylanthus, but it was fairly obvious to me that if we were going to try and sort of resurrect these plants into a functional population, they'd need some fairly intensive management for the foreseeable future. Having worked with Greater Wellington a lot in the past, I expected them to sort of quite quickly respond with the management that would be required. But I was really pleased with just how quickly other groups and agencies also sort of chipped in with their contributions. So yeah, some fairly quick sort of decisions needed to be made to sort of manage these plants, so that this rediscovery doesn't become just sort of the last gasp for the species in the region. It's sort of the beginning of a kind of resurrection, I guess.
Yeah, so down low it's all big podocarp broadleaf forest, and as we climb up further we go into that Kamahi zone. That's where the pua is.
And that's all original forest.
It's all original forest.
Never been burnt.
So this is the first time you've been up here?
Yeah.
Oh, bro, you're in for a treat.
It's good. Yeah, this front section.
Fast forward a few months, and in late August 2025, a crew of conservationists, kaitiaki and mana whenua, are heading out to try and ensure the future of these rugged little survivors. And I'm along for the ride.
There's a few original trees in
Yeah.
there.
Those are the OGs when you see those emergency northern ratas and remus. Cool.
I'm sitting in the back of a regional council ute. Next to me is Bart Cox from Wellington City Council's urban ecology team. Up front are Barrett Pistoll, Senior Environmental Monitoring Officer at Greater Wellington Regional Council, and Graeme Atkins of Ngāti Purou and Rongomawahine. Graeme is an award-winning conservationist with decades of experience working with Te Pua o Te Rēinga. He's flown down especially to lend his expertise to the project.
Possum control.
As we drive up into the hills, Barrett gives a quick history lesson for the area.
So the Regional Council took this over about 25 years ago from the Water Board. it's been locked up as water storage since, I think, the 1800s, early 1900s, because there was a cholera outbreak in Wellington.
Right.
They used to get the water for Wellington from where Zealandia is now.
Yes, yeah.
So after that, they looked further afield and they found this catchment, and it's been locked up ever since.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a hidden jewel.
Thank goodness for that. Whatever was the reason. Hey, because it would be all bloody covered with your gorse now. We're ready in gorse land.
Cut down,
yeah. That's what it would be.
Yeah.
Don't want to be bloody...
We drive a few kilometres up an access road, pull over and get ready to start the hike. Another group of conservationists and mana whenua has gone on ahead of us to scout out the site and to drop off the wire mesh which our group will be assembling into protective cages. The hope is these cages will protect the plants from introduced pests like rats, pigs and possums.
You guys are all booted up. All right, let's do it. Sweet.
It's about a 2-hour climb from the road up a steep and slippery slope to the spot Nicky MacArthur found the plants. Graeme does a quick check to make sure we've got everything we need.
Attitude, A-game.
Yeah.
Blister tape.
The bush in the Wainoiomata water collection area was never cleared for farming, so there are still plenty of old trees like rata and rimu around, but it's far from pristine. For decades, deer, pigs and possums were allowed to run wild, stripping the understory. But Barrett tells Graeme it's bounced back in recent years thanks to strict pest control measures.
Controlled so cleanly as a water catchment. The possums are kept to really low numbers.
How do they do that?
Aerial.
1080.
Yeah, they do that, and there's a whole lot of groundwork as well.
How often do 1080?
5 yearly, but we will often do one in between if there's been a mast or something like that. So
No
yeah.
wonder it looks so lush.
Yeah.
Look at all those bloody epiphytes.
Yeah.
You know, look at that rata vine going up that rimu. That's looks like a little barrier.
It's a magic spot. Keep your eyes peeled as we're walking up, eh? I'll let you know if I see anything of interest.
And there's plenty everyone wants to stop and look at, which is one of the risks of going on a bushwalk with a bunch of ecologists. There's a lengthy pause to photograph a rare native orchid spotted clinging to a tree, and excited murmurings about whether we might see some of the world's largest moss, Dawsoniae superba, Pāhau kakapo, the beard of the kakapo, which apparently can grow over 1/2 metre tall in parts of this forest. About 3/4 of the way up, we meet the first group who are on their way back down after dropping off the steel mesh we're going to use to cage the plants. And they are absolutely fizzing with excitement.
I'm Belinda, yeah. And my name is Kimmy. We're from Kokiri, yes, whānau. So, I mean, it's quite humbling to be able to come on this, but also just breathtaking, really. But even we didn't see the putipiti, although Kimmy did. She said,
I got to see the actual flower of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because they don't usually flower at this time of year, right?
Yeah. It was so different, like compared to what they saw in the photo.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there it is, right there, yeah.
I think just knowing the vegetation or everything that's around, how it's kind of feeding off that, but everything's still thriving. So there's
Just
that
sort of
reciprocity, right?
Yeah, because it's parasitic, but then it's like it's still contributing
That's
to the
right,
ecosystem.
Yeah.
And it's a journey that it has with itself, with that flower itself. And when it comes and what it does to people and all our whānau and animals as well.
Yeah. Feeds everyone, feeds itself, but with the purpose, friendly parasite.
Not
We
like
could say that, it's a friendly one.
Don't think of a leech. Think of like a nice.
Yeah.
I think it almost makes me think of like a fungus, you know, because it's just like
that's
living
what I'm
underground
saying.
and then comes up.
Yeah. And we love our fungus. We love our fungi. And we've seen a few mushrooms everywhere. No.
Sorry, do you mind being my next victim? I'm just sort of asking around. I was just wanting to ask about sort of what it was like seeing this plant.
It's a pretty rare experience, a rare opportunity, and that one was huge. It was a really big plant. So I've seen them in the bush before at Paritapu in northern Wairarapa, and that population's in decline, and they're quite small, and a lot of them breaking up. But this was obviously enormous at one point.
And I've heard that some of them there's still flowers on one of them.
There's the remains of flowers from previous year. Yeah.
And sorry, what's your connection to the... Sorry, I should have asked your name to start.
I'm Eleanor Burt, and I work at Otari Bush, and we've been involved with trying to get Dactylanthus established at Tautari. So we donated some from Purou, gifted really, from Purou. Karen, who works at Otari, is also working on how they germinate and what gets them to grow. So yeah.
Sorry, I think you guys are trying to get away, so I'd better stop bothering you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Ellen is talking about a translocation effort that first happened 5 years ago, when seeds were gathered from Te Rēinga plants in Purou forest and planted out in Otari Wilton bush in Zealandia. But it takes a long time for these plants to grow enough that they can be spotted above ground. And so far, 5 years on, there's no sign of them. I'm told it could be 4 years or even longer before they know if that translocation's been successful. If you want to know more about that effort, Alison Balance did a story about it for Our Changing World 5 years ago. We'll put a link in the description for this show. As we keep trudging our way uphill, Barrett shares some exciting news. The first group have actually found another pua o Te Rēinga at the site. They'd literally tripped over it when someone slipped and swept away the leaf litter that was covering it. We crest the ridge and make our way down into a gully.
So just around the corner here we should...
Drum roll. I don't want anyone fainting now. Overwhelmed by emotions. It's not part of the health and safety. It's going to be the greatest moment in your lives.
With Graeme Atkins acting as our hype man, we negotiate the last few steps. We're just moments away from our goal. Te Pua o Te Rēinga, the flower of the underworld, thought to be extinct in this rōpū for 100 years, still clinging to life. And then we saw it.
Welcome. This is the site.
That's it all here.
Yep, that's the
One
one
there
big
as well,
cluster.
no?
There's another big cluster underneath that fallen panga.
Well, I say we saw it. I'm sure everyone else knew what they were looking at immediately, but to be honest, all I saw at first was a bunch of pink plastic flags marking out what looked to be a jumbled pile of rotting
I
logs.
know what you're looking for though, because I look at that and I just see, oh yeah,
really
a bit of muddy, mossy stuff.
It really is a cryptic plant. Yeah, I think some people get their eye in for it better than others.
Yeah.
Cryptic's a good way of describing it. You also might say all but invisible. I was very grateful for Barrett and Graeme explaining what I was looking at.
It's all a cluster of tubers, so they all build on top of each other and make these, big conglomerate of wartiness.
Okay.
So a lot of those older tubers will be dying just naturally, and there'll be younger tubers in there that are replacing them.
I have to admit, right then and there, these plants were not all that charismatic to look at. But the really exciting thing about them is their bizarre biology.
It's a very strange plant in its own right. It's New Zealand's only fully parasitic plant.
This is Avi Holzapfel. He's an expert on Te Pua o Te Rēinga from the Department of Conservation. I spoke to him a bit earlier in the day ahead of a wānanga he was participating in at Wainoiamata Marae.
It's a very ancient member of the New Zealand flora, so been in New Zealand 28 million years ago. It lives underground on the roots of host trees, fully dependent on the host trees. So all these quite unusual things for a plant. Hasn't got any chlorophyll, hasn't got any leaves. It looks like I got a sample here. So it looks like a root burr.
It's utterly bizarre. It doesn't fit. Like when you think of a plant, you think of green leaves.
That's right.
And it doesn't have any of that stuff.
It doesn't have any of that. It doesn't even live above ground. It's a family of very strange parasitic plants. This is the only member of the family and the only member of its genus. So it's very New Zealand. There's nothing else in the world. The seed falls into the ground. It has to go underground. When it sprouts, it needs to make contact with the root of a host tree. All native host trees. It attaches to that host tree, and then the root and the plant grow together and form this union of host and Purou Te Rēinga. And then in autumn it flowers and it sends out these flowering shoots that are the only parts usually that are above ground. And they open up. There are thousands of flowers in each of them. They're about the size of my thumb, one of those flower shoots, and have tiny flowers in them and full of nectar. So once they open, they basically create this feeding area for insects, for birds, most likely for lizards, as I said, for bats. So it's a bit like a pub on the forest floor. And what it really is, the more I'm thinking about it, it is creating a tree on tap. So it's channeling the tree's nutrients and goodness into a new form that is accessible for animals that normally wouldn't be able to get nutrients from that tree. When it is in flower, you get this aggregation of other forest animals, insects around the plant, feeding on it, pollinating it, and then the cycle continues. So in itself, a very unusual part of the forest, but probably a very important one.
Meanwhile, back out in the bush, we can see that, just like Nicky MacArthur said, these plants are not in good shape. Most are clearly dead and rotting. But not all of them.
Probably the healthiest ones, in my opinion, probably this one here, and there's some signs of some small buds, which I think you should watch. They may develop.
Yeah, that's the one we thought. These three. RV seemed to think the very top of that one had some signs of recent budding as well.
Yeah.
Right along the very top there.
You reckon there's a bit of life in that one, Graeme?
Yeah, this big one there.
Yeah.
And where's the one that you found, Rhys?
No, over here.
Oh, over here?
Yeah, right there.
Oh, wow.
We've been joined by Rhys Mills from Manu Nature Reserve in Waikanae. He was with the first group who literally stumbled across another plant which was covered in leaf litter.
was using
We didn't see that before.
Yeah.
All right. Lucky we bought some extra caging then, eh? Yeah.
As Barrett and Bart start cutting up wire mesh to protect the plants, Rhys goes off on a mission of his own, crawling around the forest floor, brushing aside fallen leaves, looking for more buried treasure. I take the chance to talk to Graeme Atkins and get his history of working with Te Pua o Te Rēinga.
Most times when people would ask, when you tell them it's a parasite, they go, the hell are we trying to save it? Kill it, stamp on it.
Do they actually do any harm to the host plant at all, or is it just too small?
I doubt it. Like I've seen plants that you'd probably say that they were riddled. I think there's some sort of symbiosis thing going on.
When did you first get interested in these plants?
About 30 years ago. I come from East Cape. There was a known population based around and still up in the East Cape area, but it was all on private land. So the department funded basically a project to learn all about the species, what it's going to take to keep it around. And so I was lucky enough to be the project manager, or the only one involved in the project. So the first thing we did for the project was to try and get a handle on how many plants there were. And so that was ground searches and stuff, and it's needle in a haystack stuff.
Yeah, hard to search for.
Yeah, and like with volunteers, they quickly run out of enthusiasm and So we knew possums eat it as well as rats. So I was doing the pest control on those species, and a couple of years into the project, it ran for 11 years. Well, the third year in, I noticed that the possums droppings around autumn, they instead of being your standard sort of greeny black colour, over that time period they'd go a sort of a pinky purple colour, and I was just saying,
Graeme's theory was that the possum droppings were being stained pink and purple by the flowers of Te Pua o Te Rēinga, so he decided to investigate further.
So he started trapping the possums and then cut them open, and it was really, really distinctive. So when they eat the flowers off these plants, it dyes their stomach, the stomach and the contents, that pinky purple colour. Right. So it's a powerful presence-absence tool. Through using the possums, I was able to find thousands of plants.
Wow.
in that block, and that ended up being a good and bad thing, because the good thing was finding a survey technique. The bad thing was that the department said at the time, there's heaps of them, we don't even have to worry about them anymore. And so, the project came to an end. And then what we know now, as soon as the pest control switched off, these plants, even though you put a cage on them, that doesn't make them safe. Rats and mice just go straight through those cages.
Is it just because they're so loaded with nectar, they're just such a good food source?
That's a big reason, is that the rats, mice and possums and pigs eat the flowers, which prevents the plants from setting seed. And there's the issue. And no little Dactylanthus coming into the populations. So what we've got here is like the top plant up there, old plants with very little recruitment.
I mean, the suspicion is there's more of these around, though. I guess if you found these ones, then you'd presume there's more.
That's exactly what I'm hoping. And so with us putting the cages over these plants, they'll come up here. They know that we know they flower in autumn, so send people up here. So as soon as they start to see those first flowers emerge from under the plants, we'll start trapping the possums around here. And then we'll use them to let us know. So all the known plants right here are caged. So if we find any what I call positive possums, that's with the pinky purple stomach contents, we know there's others here. So, and at least it takes the needle in a haystack element out of it, and then it's here somewhere. Chocolate fish for whoever finds one.
I've heard a lot of people talking about how important these plants are, not just in their own right, but for the wider ecosystem. Can you explain that a little bit?
I was lucky enough to visit Hauturu Little Barrier, and so that's probably one of the few places other than Purou where there's still the plants and their main pollinators, short-tailed bats. Since the rats have been gone, so that's nearly 20 years, that's more than 20 years, the Dactylanthus has just spread everywhere. It's like walking around on a wooden floor because all these rhizomes have just sort of welded together. And I was lucky enough to be out there during the flowering season, and so there were bats crawling all over the place to get at the flowers, and they had no fear of us crawling all over us to get at the flowers. And so you had a glimpse of they must have been, the species must have been a major driver in ecosystem services. There must have been millions of these plants once upon a time, millions everywhere. And that flow of nectar, I don't think it was just solely, for bats. There would have been lizards. There's been Dactylanthus pollen found in fossilised kakapo droppings. So many birds, insects, lizards would have made use of that resource. And so what we're dealing with now is just a little glimpse on the mainland of New Zealand, where places like Little Barrier show you what it must have been like once upon a time.
I was talking to Avi, and he was saying he's reasonably hopeful that these plants can be conserved because they do come back. Like the predators aren't actually killing the ones that are still alive; they're just stopping recruitment. So if you can control the predators, they will come back. Yeah,
they've got that ability to be really heavy seed set. So like one flower, so like a decent sized, fist-sized plant could have up to a dozen to 20 flowers coming out of it, and from each of those flowers, if they're female, you could have anything up to 200 seeds on one flower. So what's that? 200 times 20 flowers. So in no time flat, you get there's that potential to get a seed bank started, and then
And do you think that would potentially also help out the animals that feed on them, I presume?
Yeah. It's a pretty crucial time of the year, going from autumn into winter, when there's not much nectar, not much flowers with nectar at that time of the year in our New Zealand forests. So crucial.
We wrap up our interview, and Graeme goes to help Barrett and Bart finish the cages.
Well done, team. Bloody Fort Knox.
These wire cages have gaps just big enough for native bats to squeeze through while keeping out the possums. Although, for now at least, the plants will have to be pollinated by hand, because it's not actually clear if those bats still live in this area. The dream is that one day this entire forest will be protected by a predator-proof fence, allowing Te Pua o Te Rēinga to once again spread across the forest floor, along with the native bats that pollinate them.
Like most of our threatened plants, the species is forever dependent on us now, because the things that cause its, it cause its demise, rats, possums, pigs, they are here forever. And if we do nothing about them, eventually these plants will go. It's as simple as that.
So far, the dream of a predator-proof fence for this area of forest hasn't found the funding it needs to get off the ground. But if it does happen, this little patch of rugged survivors could be the foundation stone for a new beginning, providing a feast of nectar for native critters just when they need it most.
Thanks, William. That story was produced by William Ray with a little bit of editing help from me, Claire Kincannon. William spoke to Nikki MacArthur, Graeme Atkins, Barrett Pistoll, Avi Holzapfel, Rhys Mills and Bart Cox, as well as Belinda, Kimmy and Eleanor. Thanks also to Elena Smith-Beach and the team at Greater Wellington Regional Council. An extra special thanks to Mana Whenua at Wainui o Mata Marae. Sound engineering was by Steve Burridge. And for photos and links, you can visit rnz.co.nz/OCW. Plus, if you scroll to the bottom, you can also subscribe to our monthly newsletter there. Tēnā koe I whakarongo mai. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great week. Kia pai, te wiki.